Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Jenny from Art by Jenny K, and today we're going to make an easy peasy snippet roll from a master board. So hang on and let's have some fun. Okay, so I don't know about you, but snippet rolls fascinate me. I just love all those little doodads in one place on one roll that I can just cut apart and toss on something and it's done. So I love snippet rolls, but I'm not so in love with making them. Well, I am. I mean, I'm in love with decorating them. I'm just not in love with making the base part of the roll. So this is a snippet roll that I made in the regular way. It has all the little pieces glued on for the base, and I just kind of alternated different kinds of text and stuff. And then I went back, of course, and embellished it with lace and buttons and rickrack and safety pins and little danglies and all kinds of stuff. Anything I could find that looked interesting. The base of mine was actually magazine strips because they are thin, so they don't add a lot of bulk, because there's already a lot of bulk in a snippet strip, because you have all of this stuff layered and all this stuff on top, so I didn't want to add too much more bulk underneath. I made this one a couple of weeks ago and I have used most of it. There's some left, right? But most of it has already been used, and it wasn't super long and it took quite a while. So this is a couple of things that I used that snippet roll for. So you can see there's a piece here on this tag, and then on this tag, the front of the tag is here, and the back has a little pocket, and I used the snippet roll here, and it has some charms and buttons, and so I really love this one. I think this is a really great use for a snippet roll because it has some text, a text page underneath, but it's, just dresses it up a little bit. These are part of the sewing journal project that I am working on, and I really have to apologize. I have not posted a video in a while because we have been running into technical difficulties. I had some trouble with some products. I was making some stuff and it didn't turn out very well, and so I did it again, and then I filmed, and then the video didn't turn out, so I filmed again and the video didn't turn out. So I am really hoping that today's video will actually work out, because in the videos, two of the videos that didn't turn out, I made these tags and quite a few other ones too, for that sewing journal that has all of those pockets in it. So when we get towards the end of the journal, or the next thing we're going to do with the journal itself, I will show you all of the tags I made and some of the things that I am putting into some of those pockets, because I think they're going to be a lot of fun. But today I want to make another snippet roll. So as I said, I made that one kind of the traditional way. Then I have this one. This one is like 11 feet long. It's long. And there's a lot of stuff on it, but I made it a lot quicker. The base was much faster because I took the master board idea and then I cut the paper into strips, put them together, and then embellished. So I spent my time embellishing instead of building the base. And there are some pros and cons. I think one of the pros is the amount of time I saved doing it. But the con is, of course, that you don't get quite as much stuff sticking out. So you can see on this one, the one I did sort of the traditional way, all these little papers are sticking out on the edges. This one has a clean edge because I cut it apart. However, I did stick some things out over the edge, some pieces of lace and little bits and bobs. So you can still get, some of that texture, but if you like tons and tons of stuff sticking out, this may not be for you. However, if you don't mind not having a ton of stuff sticking out, and of course, because it's a snippet roll and you cut off little pieces of it, you can have a piece sticking out and you can always put something behind it. But I spent probably half the time making this one, which is much longer than I spent making the one that I had to glue down every single little piece of paper. And so you can see this one is very long. Oops, it's kind of fighting me a little bit here to show you. And of course these snippet rolls are paper as opposed to fabric. So I thought I would just roll them between here so you could see, and you can still see parts. So there's some trim and all kinds of stuff, but it doesn't have a lot of that fringy on the edges. You could remedy that by tossing, as I said, by putting things out over the edge. I did not sew any of my snippet roll. I am trying to sew a little bit on each thing that I do for the sewing themed journal, but generally I just don't want to take the time to sew everything. So I decided that I would just glue, and as I cut things off, if the glue is a little loose, I'll just go back and tack it a little bit. So let's get started. Let me show you how to do a super quick. So I was watching masterboard videos thinking to myself, you could do a lot of things with that besides just a tag. It seems like you ought to be able to make lots of other things from it. And so it occurred to me that one of the best things to make would be a snippet roll. Okay, so I have a fairly large piece of paper here. I'm not even sure what size it is. I guess I could measure it. I've got a ruler down here. Let's see. There's 7, 12, so it's probably 12 by 24 would be my guess. Right, there's 14. Okay, so it's 12 by 18. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put down blocks of text this way, because I'm going to cut this way and make those long strips. And then you can decorate the strips individually, or you can attach them all to make your your snippet roll one long roll. So I just have lots of different papers. I just want to be sure I cover that yellow. It doesn't really matter what color this is because this is just the base, so it doesn't make any difference. The last one I had was a white piece of paper. It was just a large piece of paper, and it was probably the weight of just regular computer paper, typing paper. It was just pretty lightweight. This is lightweight too. It's not quite construction paper, but it does have a little bit of that feel to it, and it's not something I would probably use in any other way. So this to me is a good way to use some of that up. Let's get some there. I want to have some of that music all the way across here. Maybe we'll come back with more music in just a minute. It doesn't really matter. I'm just kind of willy-nilly putting things because when I cut it, the strips are going to run this way, so it's not going to make a big difference. Would like torn edges, and I do tend to cover the bottom edge, so I don't worry too much about whether the bottom edge is straight, because when I put the next layer on, it's going to overlap it just a little bit. And if you need to put a little more glue down, it's okay. And so I just thought this was super quick. And as opposed to all the little pieces that are required to make that snippet roll. I have actually not made a fabric snippet roll. I'm afraid that might be too much sewing for me. I probably should, but you know, I haven't. So just so I can say I did, right? It's always the best way to be. And you know, these are kind of straight. The lines are kind of straight here, but they don't have to be. They can be willy-nilly any which way you want. So I'm just trying to pull some different things. Yeah, let's just, ooh, that's pretty brittle. Let's just tear that one down. We can put that edge over. And that's a beautiful old piece of book page, and I have some different text on it. It comes from, about here. This one is from a translation dictionary. So I thought it was really cool. And the dictionary had several languages, and it was a translation picture dictionary. So it was a really neat book to have. So it's got it has pictures, and then there's English and French and German. And then I'm not sure which Asian language because the front of the book is gone. I got it for next to nothing at a thrift shop, a Goodwill shop. But you can see when you're looking at it, it's got characters, but I would not pretend to know what those characters, which alphabet those characters might be from. Let's save some of this. I'll use all of it there. So it's beautiful old paper. It's a little brittle, and as I said, I found it, I think it like Goodwill, and it was maybe $1 because it was falling apart. And the cover was gone and things. So that was quite the find, I thought. And I am happy to have it. So that makes an interesting pass there. Let's see, what else do I have? Something in some juxtaposition. So this looks like an index of authors. I think it's from a Bartlett's Quotations. So I'm just going to cover that edge a little bit, so it's okay if the edge is straight there. And you can see this is pretty hefty. We're covering that page pretty fast. I'm just using the 3-in-1 glue because I want to make sure this paper sticks. If when I roll it I find that there are loose edges, I will tack them down at that point. But I don't want it, I'm not using my glue stick because I don't think that's going to hold it well enough to do a snippet roll. That requires it to be pretty hefty because you're putting a lot of stuff on top of it. You want it stuck down good. It doesn't matter if we reverse it, which way we put it, again, because it's just going to be cut in strips. So, covering up parts of it is totally fine. Here. And we're just going to trim out all of the stuff off the edge here, so I just want to make sure this is glued down good. Oh, got a piece of paper stuck to that. So we're moving right along. We've covered almost this whole sheet. Let's see, what else do I have over here? I have some pieces of the sewing book. Oh, like an index page. That's kind of fun because I'll have some bigger letters. Not quite that much. I'll have some bigger letters on it. Maybe not quite as much contrast. See, now I put that down, maybe that's not what I want. Maybe I want something that's got a little more contrast to it. Oh, this might be nice. Put that off the edge and we'll cover that bottom edge. We'll use that other piece in just a minute. And you know, most of this is going to get covered with whatever lovelies you put over it. So it doesn't have to be, it's okay if it's bigger pieces of something because you're going to cut it apart anyway. So it's not super imperative that the pieces be small, because then you can save, if you spend less time doing this part, you can save more time for the fun part, which is all the little doodads that go on it. And I can spend a lot of time doing that, let me tell you. I have a lot of fun sorting through all of my stuff, looking for things to put on it. The first two snippet rolls I did were very neutral, not a lot of color. So I'm thinking this one, the very first one I did, had a little bit of color, but not much. Didn't have a lot of color on it. So I'm thinking this one, I might go for a little more colorful, something a little more colorful. And I was thinking about just choosing a color and then finding whatever embellishments and pictures and any little doodads I could find in that color in my stash. So I think that's probably what I'll do. And I haven't decided whether to go with something girly like pink or you know, or pale blue, or to go with something brighter like an orange or orange and yellow kind of together maybe. Okay, and so now we can use this and take some of that off. There, that's better contrast. Over here, so we might as well put some glue down. So I just don't know. I did consider decorating the strips before I put them together, and then doing the strips in different colors, and maybe not putting them together in one roll at all. I do like the roll I have, but I have to say it was a little more difficult to decorate because it was so long. I did not anticipate that being an issue. I didn't really think that it would be, you know, be a problem if it were longer. But it was it got a little heavy on the end, and so it was hard to keep it from sliding off my table while I was working on it. So maybe, you know, maybe live and learn this time. Oh, we can do that side. That would be good, maybe. You know, maybe this time I will just do it in strips, which would allow me to do lots of different colors, which could be even more fun. Okay. All right, I don't think I have anything that's coming up. Let's double check a little bit, maybe a little bit here. Top the edge. And it will be easier to tell once we cut it. Let me grab a towel. because I squished out some glue there. I'll sop that up a little bit. The good thing about this 3-in-1 glue is it does sop up pretty easily if you get too much. That's off the edge. That's a little brittle, so I'm going to put a little extra glue there. It's okay. Just want to make sure it stays down while we're decorating. And then when we decorate, we can make sure to put something over the edge so that it doesn't come up. Got a little bit here. Maybe we'll just tear that off. Oh, should have done that, huh? Now I have yellow showing. Okay, well, we'll just fix it. No harm, no foul. I was thinking I would just be smart and tear that off. Do it this way. But that wasn't very smart because I showed my bottom layers. See, I'm thinking, oh, I'll just show more of the music paper. Nope, not so much. Oh, and I see I've got some white showing, some yellow showing there. Ooh, but I have this, which is really cool. Maybe I'll just kind of put that. Oh yeah, let's do that. So, you know, if you do it in blocks, you could do it in all book pages and then go back and put some things over the top, right? Okay, so that's good. The other thing I did before I cut it is I glued down some pieces of ribbon, just kind of crisscrossing, so that I already had that base layer. Let me show you on this one. I didn't do a very good job of rolling that back up, did I? So on this one, you can see there's some ribbons here. There's some ribbon here. Oops, that one's coming apart where I attached it. These ribbons, this one. So there's some base ribbons, some pieces of rickrack and ribbons that I glued down on the base to start with. So let me clean this up a little bit and grab some ribbon, and we'll come back and do that. Okay, so I have gathered up some different pieces of ribbon. Since this is a neutral background and I haven't decided what color to put on top of it, I thought I would go ahead and use some, you know, just really basic neutral kind of ribbon things. These are all things I brought to just kind of put on here, and we're going to kind of put them on willy-nilly because we're going to cut it up. Did bring a little sparkle of gold, got a couple little gold things just because I love gold. I also brought some gold washi tape and some neutral. This has some color in it with the butterflies, but it's still very beigey, you know, background, and then there's a little gold in this too. So let's see, we'll kind of start with, maybe this one's the biggest one. And I just kind of laid them across and just glued them down, because remember, we're going to cut this way. So if there's a piece, it's just going to cut like a little piece of it. So there'll be little swatches of it. So it's just go ahead and get that. I'm just using my Fabri-Tac for this. Kind of gloopy there. And, you know, so you can put big pieces of it. Again, time saver, right? And if you get a little glue showing through, like here it's coming through a little bit because this is burlap and I got a little much and I probably got more than I should have. When you decorate, just be sure that you put a button or something on top of it, and, you know, it's not gonna be a big deal. This one is pretty open, so, and, you know, and it's okay if they crisscross, because at some point, you know, they're gonna get cut and they can cross there. So This is, oops, I wonder if it would be better to just put some glue. I don't know, this one's open. Now I'm second guessing that one. This one is not as open, so maybe this one would be better. Just put a little glue down, try to not get so much. I got a little gloopy on that last one. And again, you know, if you don't get quite enough, you can always glue it down a little bit when you cut it apart, or you can make sure you glue something on top of it. See, and I'm just gonna kind of, you know, if you just make sure you glue something on top of it to hold it down later in the embellishment phase. See, I'm worried about that. I don't know if that'll show through or not. This one's not quite so. Yeah. Just remember that since you're going to cut it in strips, you want things going kind of across several strips. It might not be on every strip, but it will be, you know, on several of them. And that's kind of the idea, right? Because they don't all have to look the same. They just need to look like they go together. See, we'll even cover up part of that a little bit there. I'll take care of some of that. Okay, some thicker things. Yeah, see, I'm gonna like the gold there. This is just bias tape, so I don't even know where I got it. This stuff is just, you know, this just came from Dollar Tree, so it was very inexpensive. The whole spool was just $1. You know, I'm having trouble getting this to come out. If I had decided in advance what color, if I knew what color, I could have, you know, put pink ribbon and things like that, or blue, or I'm just not sure if I'm going to do all one color, like I'm going to do the whole snippet roll in one color, or if I'm going to do them in several colors. Let's try just laying it on the paper instead. Maybe that'll be a better way to go. Not doing a very good job of gluing today, am I? That's what you get for rubbing instead of blotting. Okay, that one looks all right. Got some brown. Can kind of crisscross. Doesn't look like there's very much down here. I think smaller spout. That might be helpful. good news is this glue does blot up pretty well, so if you get a little messy with it, it's not one of those things you're gonna notice it's gonna be terrible. Let's see. Kind of missing some up this way maybe. That's not very straight, is it? Oh well. Once I cut it apart, it's not going to matter because it's just going to be in little pieces. So it doesn't really matter if I didn't get it very straight. I'm just going to cut it up anyway. So we were putting some ribbons across. I have some washi tape. Maybe we could stick on there too, just to get a little more pizzazz. Since we're gonna be cutting this apart, I'm definitely gonna add a little glue under the washi tape just to make sure it stays put. Might have to glue those edges. Let's see, where else could we put a little? I like that. Maybe down here. Let's see, how much do we have? Not that much. I think washi tape is okay without the glue if you're putting it on something that you're not going to be cutting apart. Like if I were putting it on the edges of an envelope or the edge of a page or something, it'd be fine. But since we're gonna bend this and move it, it seems like we should probably have a little reinforcement there. Maybe, let's try it this way. Maybe a little more at the top, and it's okay if part of it's upside down. Maybe something crisscrossing there. Got a little bit out over here. Pick that up. It's not sticky. This almost looks like the bias tape. It's a little bit different color, but let's see, how far across would that go? Okay. I did a very good job of getting that straight, did I? Not quite where I had it, but it doesn't really matter. You know, the good thing about junk journaling and making paper crafts is that it's all just paper. It's all because we have fun. There are no emergencies. Sometimes when things don't work out, it's frustrating for sure. I got a little bit of glue on the top of it. Okay, well, I'll just be sure and cover that with something when I cut it apart and decorate it. Just a little more, one more thing here we could And by putting lots of little things on here now, it saves us some of the time in decoration and allows us to concentrate on bigger things when we decorate. Like buttons and bigger graphics and things like that. Because I've got this extra piece, let's put it somewhere. So now we've got this, we're ready to cut it this way. And it's much easier. I decided to cut it on the back. I am going to trim it up a little bit, just so I have a straight edge, and then I'll be able to get my ruler and mark off how wide. And you can cut different widths if you want to, so that you have different size tape. Or you could, you know, if you want to make one big roll, make it all about the same. I'm gonna have to measure the roll I made, because I'm not sure if I did an inch or an inch and a half on that. And you could, of course, leave the stuff hanging out over the edge, and then you'd have at least a couple of edges that had things hanging out. It just seemed easier to me to make a roll out of something that was all kind of a little more uniform, but not necessarily after uniform, so. Certainly okay if it's not. Okay. Let me grab my see-through ruler. And a pencil. I don't know where my regular pencil went, but it's okay. All right, so this is 12 inches wide, so we could do 12 1-inch strips. We could do 1.5 inches, which would give us 1, 2, 4, 8 strips. So that might be a good choice, a little bit wider. Let me see, I wonder how wide my other one was. All right, I did the other one at 1.5 inches as well, and that seems to be a good width. Let's see, where's my 1.5 inches? There it is. So that's not right. Is that right? That's right. I thought about trying to put it on my cutter, but I would have to definitely cut it in half to do that. Because my cutter is not nearly as big as this, or I would have to cut it short ways, but that kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, I guess if you glued everything long way and then cut it short way, you would have the same result, but a lot more pieces. And it seems like we're trying to do something a little faster. The base is faster if we do it this way. And then there's my, oops, 1.5. I got my full track. Yeah, no, that's pretty good. It's pretty close. Not too bad for, you know, kind of a quick measure. Might have gotten a little bit wider on the first piece. But it's all good. Okay, so then we have a strip like this that then becomes the base of our roll. So now we can decorate the strip. We can decorate each strip in a different color if we wanted to. As I said, I've done 2 neutrals now, and I did a neutral background, so I'm thinking I'm gonna put more colorful things on top. And I still haven't quite decided if I'm going to do the whole roll in a color. That one's pretty. Or if I'm going to, you know, do some strips. If you wanted to sew, you could definitely do some sewing either before you cut the strips or after. If you wanted to do a zigzag stitch down the middle or something around the edge, you could certainly do that. I am not opposed to sewing, but sometimes it seems like a lot to sew. So this one's a little, you can see because it's right beside it. So if we were doing end to end though, you would have this end, so it would be, you know, a good ways apart before you saw a repeat. And you can kind of mix them up. So if we want something that looks very different, or we can turn it the other way if we're going to attach them all end to end, which is what I did on the last one I made. Oops, I got a little off kilter there. Oh well. Sometimes I'm not very good at following lines. And so we could turn them. Has a little more gold that way. We can make sure the gold's here. And this is what I'm talking about. If you have a little piece that's not quite stuck when you go through to embellish, you can make sure to glue it down, or you can glue something, you know, on top of it here so we know it's going to stay, even if it's a little loose on the edges. If you wanted to go through and ink up the edges at this point, you certainly could. You could have inked the edges of the paper before you glued it down, but since we're cutting down the middle of it, that would have left a lot of it uninked and some of it with ink. So, you know, at this point, if you wanted to go through and ink the edges, that would be a good thing to do. You could glue down on this. You can see there's a little bit of edge here that it's glued here, but not quite all the way to the edge, but that's okay. When we embellish it, we can fix it. You could leave it in strips like this so that you had smaller pieces to play with, and you could do lots of different things then, and not have to maybe cut the middle of a snippet roll. If if you're rolling along and you want this piece here, you kind of have to cut off here and then here when you have a piece left. So the advantage to leaving it in strips would be that you wouldn't have necessarily a whole roll to deal with. And you can see I'm not being super careful about these lines. It's okay because it's a snippet roll, and I'm going to put so much stuff on top of it, it's not going to matter whether they're quite straight. And so here I would, if I wanted to join it into a whole roll as I was decorating maybe, and I might do that, I might join the roll as I decorate. So last time I joined everything in a roll, And I would probably do it this way so as not to cover that up. I might see there's a little bit of an edge here that's not glued, so I might come up under here and glue the edge here and glue it here so that it looks like it's, you know, kind of seamless. You don't even really see where it's coming together. So, and then you could just do that all the way across. You would just take another piece, overlap it a little bit, and you know, if you don't like this is kind of a little dull and it's kind of a bigger piece, I could overlap that a little more so there's not as much of it, and then glue those down. Or this would be a good place to sew if you wanted to sew an X across it. You know, just mark where you're going and sew an X across there, and that would join it, you know, pretty well. So there you have it. There's a quick method using a master board to create snippet roll strips that are now ready to decorate. So we didn't spend a lot of time making the base, and now we have more time to decorate the roll. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a like and a thumbs up. It gives me a little motivation to keep making some of these videos. And I do apologize that we haven't had as many out because of the technical difficulties. So I'm hoping that we have overcome those now, and we're going to be ready to move forward at a little faster pace, because I really want to show you some of the things I have made for this sewing journal. I've got a folio to show you. I've got some really cute little flip out books to show you. I've got some cute things to tuck in, and we still have to decorate the book too. So we got a lot to do. So I hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining me. This is Jenny from Art by Jenny K. Come back soon. Bye guys.